College football is a southern sport, maybe a Midwest sport. Ain't no damn championship game ever need to be out in California. No. That's the dumbest crap.
There was nobody in Los Angeles, a legend, that cared one bit about this game outside of the fans.
The Paul Feinbaum Show, weekdays at 3 Eastern on the ESPN app and on the SEC network.
A huge Thursday. Canty and Carlin is one NFL team about to do the unthinkable.
Plus, the quarterback with the most to gain on Wild Card Weekend. Spoiler alert, it ain't who you think it is.
Canty and Carlin, 3 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and watch on the ESPN app.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Cowboys coach Mike McCarthy today addressing reporters as his team continues to prepare for Monday night's NFC wildcard game against the Buccaneers. He said despite the disappointing offensive performance in the regular season finale, their approach stays the same. He added they love who they are. There are concerns, though, for Dallas heading into the matchup for ESPN senior NFL writer Bill Barnwell.
Last week was bad, but the last 3 weeks with Tony Pollard hurt, Tyler Biadasz, their starting center, sidelined by a high ankle sprain, Terrence Steele, their right tackle, out for the year. They have struggled to run the ball, and Dak is turning the ball over. Dak's interception rate this year, twice his career average, 11 interceptions in their last 7 games.
Bill Barnwell on Fitz and Harry. Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta would be the neutral site for an AFC championship game between the Chiefs and Bills. Other potential AFC title game matchups would take place at the home stadium of the higher seed. ESPN's Adam Schefter reports the Broncos will interview former Saints coach Sean Payton for their head coaching vacancy on Tuesday. The Bears have hired Big Ten Commissioner Kevin Warren as their new president and CEO.
How would you love a chance to save some money on car insurance? Geico can help. Switch today and see all the ways you could save with great rates and discounts. It's easy. Simply go to geico.com to get a rate quote and get started seeing how much you could save.
All right, everybody, welcome in. Justin Kinner with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM, the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. No Kev Nash today. He'll be back with us live tomorrow starting at 3 o'clock. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash again here on 1410 ESPN radio. Again, apologize for the start to yesterday's show. Obviously, I made a mistake on my end. Kev Nash and I have hashed it out. He is off today. He'll be back with us tomorrow. I'm riding solo today, and looking forward to having him back on the show tomorrow. We're not going to get into too much of what happened yesterday. We'll address that more on tomorrow's show, but I appreciate those who are tuning in and hanging out with us here this afternoon. But the show still going. We're good. Despite all my worst efforts. I made a mistake, and I apologize for those who caught that yesterday. That was all on me, but we would like to move forward, that's for sure. All right, I want to open up today's show. Is there such thing as a bad job in the National Football League? First of all, I find it very ironic, and look, everyone knows I'm a Cleveland Browns fan, okay? And I follow a lot of Cleveland Browns media, Daryl Ryder and some guys that work for 92.3 The Fan in Cleveland and many others, of course. But I'm amazed at how many media members in Cleveland are ripping the Houston Texans and some of these other jobs. When you talk about coaching candidacies, as far as vacancies, I'm sorry about, all the different candidates out there, what are some good and bad jobs? And I always laugh. I'm like, well, what's a bad job? Because years and years ago, before the Cincinnati Bengals got Joe Burrow, I remember heading into that rookie season with Joe Burrow. It's not like I was a hater and I was the only one saying how bad of an organization the Bengals were. There was so much chatter nationally about how bad the Bengals organization was, how bad Zach Taylor was, how bad, the ownership was. And, it's pretty interesting how, when you talk about the changes that need to be made at organization, the ownership change never happened in Cincinnati. There was no ownership change in Cincinnati. There was only one thing that happened, and one thing only, and that was they got a quarterback. Like, I think it's very ironic that as a Browns fan, I'm following Browns media out there trying to talk about how bad these jobs are out there. And I'm like, I think as Browns fans and Browns media, I don't think you're allowed to call other jobs bad jobs, but it is what it is. But the Cincinnati Bengals, I remember years ago, when you looked at that situation, I mean, nobody had faith that Joe Burrow would go there and have success. Nobody. And I think deep down, even most of you homeristic Bengals fans knew deep down that there was some concern that, man, will my team screw this up? And I think that that's fair. I think that a lot of concerns about jobs out there are very valid. I mean, right now, the Houston Texans job, if you are, a coach that's looking for for another opportunity out there, it's just one of those things where you look around the league, the Houston Texans, what makes that job interesting? Nothing other than the fact that they have the number 1 overall pick and a chance to get their own Joe Burrow. Is there a Joe Burrow in the draft? It's not like when the Bengals drafted Joe Burrow, I think he's exceeded what everyone kind of had expected of him anyways. It's not as if everyone thought that the second that the Bengals drafted Joe Burrow, that all of a sudden the organization was going to take off. I think that even those who were even the most excited about Joe Burrow going to Cincinnati didn't envision being in a Super Bowl in year 2. But that's how quickly the perception can change of organizations. You can go from a horrible, embarrassing organization like the Bengals were to now all of a sudden Mike Brown, who was a meme of him falling asleep in the owner's suite in the middle of a game, is now all of a sudden leading one of the most successful franchises in the National Football League. They're organically built. They built this roster from the ground up, literally. Won 6 games in 2 years, drafted Joe Burrow, drafted T. Higgins in the second round. You know what I mean? Like they drafted, obviously, Jamar Chase with the, I guess not controversial, but I guess questionable decision to take a wide receiver in the top 5 years ago. And then obviously I, along with many critics out there, were wrong about that. The thing is, whenever I said that the Bengals were wrong for taking Jamar Chase, I don't think that was a hot take. Back then, by the way, it sounds silly. We had a caller yesterday or 2 days ago that had mentioned that he was a Bears fan, or that the Bears should take that the Bears should take a wide receiver with their number 1 overall pick. You don't take a wide receiver in the top 5. And I still believe that to this day. Every situation is different. Obviously, at that time, the Bengals had dire need at offensive line, still kind of do now with injuries, but that's not the point. But I think the concerns of taking a receiver in the top 5 were valid. But it's also an organization that nobody trusted. Nobody trusted the Bengals. Some people still don't trust the Bengals, but the Bengals still seem to can't make a mistake right now. They're hitting on everything. They're hitting on every draft pick. They're hitting on every free agent signing. The offensive line, which they addressed, it didn't start out well, but then all of a sudden it gelled. Everyone came together and boom. So my point is there a job out there that is bad in the NFL? I think every job is bad until you have a quarterback. Like, I think the Steelers' defense is a fantastic defense, and they may have found their quarterback in Kenny Pickett. But, if you would have asked me a year ago, is the Steelers' job a good job? They have good ownership. They have all these things. They can have good ownership. They can have a lot of resources. But at the end of the day, if you don't have a quarterback, it's not a good job. You're only as good. The job is only as good as the quarterback. So now, is this a good job? Is the Cincinnati Bengals, if Zach Taylor was to leave, which he's not, but if Zach Taylor was to leave, is that a good job? Well, yeah, because they have Joe Burrow. Yeah, but they still have that cheap owner that everyone complains about, right? Yeah, they have that embarrassing franchise that everyone still likes to talk about, right? But now it's like all of a sudden a magical Band-Aid was ripped off about the perception of the Cincinnati Bengals, and really nothing's really changed other than they got a quarterback. And once you get that quarterback, everything can go from there. I made a mistake earlier. I said that the Texans had the number 1 overall pick. I'm sorry, they lost the number 1 overall pick. The Bears have the number 1 overall pick. But that's what I find just most interesting to me is the fact that there's people out there that think there are bad jobs in the NFL. However, you could make an argument. Let's say the St. Louis Cardinals or the Arizona Cardinals. Sorry, I get my sports mixed up. The Arizona Cardinals, you look at that job. They have a quarterback in Kyler Murray, who, by the way, not this past season, but last season, he was the MVP favorite heading into week 9, if you guys recall. I know he had that second half collapse, and then things were kind of, not very smooth this season either. But, the Cardinals technically have a quarterback, but the hardest part's done. If you can get an offensive mind in there that can get everything to kind of click, the Cardinals could be a quick fix. The Bears might be a quick fix because you have the number 1 overall pick. You already have what you think is your quarterback in Justin Fields. You have $100+ million in cap space. I think the Bears is a pretty good job. I still think that the Bears with the number 1 overall pick, that's a good job. I think the Texans is still a good job. The Texans have like 5 first-round picks over the next 2 years. Don't tell me that's not a good job. If you want to talk about the potential coaches out there that are looking for gigs, and you want to say that the Texans is not a good job, you can argue that that's actually the best job, because you want to know what made Cincinnati relevant quickly. It wasn't the fact that they had Joe Burrow or got Joe Burrow, although that is the case, but it's the fact that they had the chance to get a Joe Burrow. And right now, the Texans have a lot of opportunities to get a lot of really good impact players early on. That's what makes the Texans have the best job. I think the Bears have the second best job. Let me reverse that. As far as the jobs that are open, I honestly think that the Bears job is the number one job, depending on what direction that they go in. Because of, if they have Justin Fields, you could trade that first round back, get multiple first rounder, or trade that number one overall pick, get multiple first round draft picks, load up that roster with young talent. You still have Justin Fields' rookie deal. Even if you don't sign him initially after next year, you could still, of course, do the franchise after that. Not that I'm saying that they need to. However, the Bears could be very, flexible. Hell, the Browns have Deshaun Watson. They renegotiated, or they reworked his contract where they only had to pay him $1 million this season. And then next year they'll rework the contract again. He'll only get $8 million next season because he'll get a lot of it up front as a signing bonus. And even for the Bengals, we're going to talk about the Bengals Super Bowl window coming up here in a moment. It could be a pretty wide window, because even though the Bengals are going to probably pay Joe Burrow this offseason, they could keep restructuring that deal for a couple of seasons before it really starts to hit. And when I talk about really starts to hit, look at the Green Bay Packers. The Packers they're totally out of options. They can no longer reconstruct the contract. They can't give anything up front as a signing bonus or as a bonus, if you will, for Aaron Rodgers. So that's the situation that they find themselves in. The Browns will be in that situation here, not this coming up season, but I believe the following season. So the window is there. But no, I think that the Texans have a very good opportunity, because they can get their Bryce Young, or they can get their CJ Stroud if the Bears opt to not take a quarterback. Either way, I think the Texans get their quarterback. They got another pick in the top 10. They got 2 more first rounders next year. I think that the Texans is actually a very interesting job if you want to go in and start from the ground up and build up. The Bengals, I think, as much as I despise the Bengals, and you Bengals fans really know how to get under my skin, at the end of the day, the Bengals are the blueprint to how to take a really, really bad franchise and turn the perception around very, very quickly. I mean, think about the blue blood franchises in the NFL right now. When's the last time that the Packers and the Patriots and the Steelers were not in the playoffs? For me growing up, the NFL was the Patriots, it was the Steelers, it was the Packers. Whether it was Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers, the Packers have always been relevant. The Patriots have always been relevant. The Steelers have always been relevant. And now we have a situation where the Packers, the Patriots, and the Steelers all not in the playoffs. And then you have a lot of organizations like the Dolphins, who right now are going to be ousted, of course, because of the fact that Tua is out and all that, and they're playing Buffalo. But the Buffalo Bills and the Cincinnati Bengals, if you would have told me 5 years ago that the Bengals and the Bills, think about 5 years ago. I know right now it doesn't sound that weird. It's the Bengals. It's it's the Bills. It's Josh Allen. It's Joe Burrow. It's not that weird that they're at the top. But 5 years ago, if I would have told you that the Bills and Bengals would be 2 of the top 3 teams in football, everyone would have laughed. Outside of Bengals fans, everyone would have laughed. But that's where we're at right now. So this idea, I mean, and 5 years ago, the Bengals job was a horrible job, if we're using the same context that we're having about the Colts and the Texans and so on. 5 years ago, the Bills job was a horrible job. The Bills are known for losing 4 straight Super Bowls. They're not known for winning anything. They're known for, even when they were winning, they're still known for losing, right? Even when the Bills were winning at the highest of levels, they were still known for losing in the Super Bowl. Like, how bad of luck is that? Get to all those Super Bowls, but you're just known for losing them. So even when you win, you're known for losing. That's the Buffalo Bills. They're trying to change that. And I think that they have, and they have their quarterback, of course, in Josh Allen. The Bengals, they were always a punchline in all national media time slots, no matter what interview. I mean, TJ Houshmandzadeh, who I believe is the ruler of the jungle coming up. I find that very ironic, because that dude's responsible for a lot of my perceptions on the Bengals, because he had a ton of negative stories about the Bengals. I find it pretty funny that he's the one that's the ruler of the jungle, because I'm not going to lie to you. If y'all want to blame a lot of my bias of the Bengals, it's because of him, because of a lot of the interviews I've seen him do with Colin Cowherd and many others on the Fox network. He's not shy of telling you how bad that organization was. And are they still that way now? Maybe, but they're winning. And you could be a bad organization. You could do a lot of things wrong behind the scenes, but if you're winning, who cares? I don't know if the Bengals are doing as much stuff wrong behind the scenes anymore. They seem to be checking off a lot of boxes, that's for sure. So there's that. But yeah, I don't think there is such thing as a bad job in the NFL. I think there's bad opportunities. If you ask me, and I don't think having a quarterback always necessarily means that you're a great job. I think the Cardinals is a good job, but I think right now the opportunity is not right. Like, that's kind of where I'm at with that. Like, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with some of these. The Colts, that's another job right there. Everyone says that's a horrible job. I think that the Colts I think the Colts you could argue with where the Texans and Bears are, the Bears and the Texans have those 5 first-round picks in the next 2 years. And then you also have the Bears, who have the number 1 overall pick, maybe already have their franchise quarterback in Justin Fields, and they have $100 million to spend. With all of that being said, the Colts might be in the best spot of all those teams, and here's why. They have an owner who's willing to spend money. Someone commented on my page a little bit ago about the DeAndre Hopkins possibility in Cleveland, saying that they don't need a receiver, they need a new owner. And I was like, well, as far as the Haslams are concerned, I'm not a big fan of the Haslams, but I will take the Haslams over most good owners in the NFL because at least they have money and they will spend it, and they'll spend it in a hurry. I mean, the Haslams make things interesting, but you can't say the Haslams haven't tried. I mean, look at the only reason the Browns have expectations over the last 4 or 5 years is because they finally invested into the team at a very high level. They spent a lot of money. They go get the Odell Beckham Jr.'s. That didn't work out. All right. They went and got Hooper, and they made him a top 5 paid tight end at that time. Right. Like, then they pay Njoku. They bring in Amari Cooper. Like, they pay that offensive line. They paid Myles Garrett. They took care of Denzel Ward. They bring in Jadeveon Clowney. Of course, that really didn't work out. But my point is I at least appreciate owners who go down swinging and go down trying. It's frustrating when how many times have I heard Bengals fans say, well, Mike Brown won't do that. He's cheap. I don't know. It's all in how you look at it. It's all about perspective, of course, but nonetheless, that's where we're at. But I don't believe that there's a bad job in the NFL, and I don't think that the Texans are a bad job, because if they get C.J. Stroud at number 2 or Bryce Young, if C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young turns into the next Joe Burrow or the next Trevor Lawrence or the next Patrick Mahomes or whatever, if any of those guys hit right away, I mean, the Bengals were in the Super Bowl in year 2. There's not one single soul out there that thought that was a possibility. And the Houston Texans have way more draft picks and have way more cap space than what the Bengals did during that opportunity. You're only as good as your quarterback. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with either Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Kev Nash out today. He'll be back with us tomorrow, but we'll step away. If you want to give me a call, 518-1410. We're also live on the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page. That's where you go ahead. Do you believe that there is such thing as a bad job in the NFL? I don't believe that there is, especially, or at least amongst the teams that are available right now, whether it's the Texans, the Colts, from a coaching candidacy perspective. I don't know. I have a hard time believing that any coach out there can look at the Texans and say, yeah, that's a horrible situation. You mean a team with 5 first-round picks in 2 years that has the number 2 pick this year, that there's great quarterbacks in this draft that can easily turn your franchise around real quick? We've seen how quickly quarterbacks can turn franchises around now. This isn't the old days where you draft a quarterback and you have to give him 4 to 5 years. It's kind of, you know it if you got it type of situation right off the bat. We'll be right back.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
The mid-afternoon and early evening will be cloudy with rain, a high near 50. Tonight's going to be cloudy with rain and snow, a low near 34. And tomorrow's going to be cloudy with snow showers, a high near 34. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather is brought to you by Cullet Propane. 98% of their customers recommend Cullet. If you wouldn't recommend your current supplier, check them out at culletpropane.com.
Hey, Ohio, the wait is finally over. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, is now live in Ohio just in time for the NFL playoffs. And new customers in Ohio can get in on the action with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just sign up at FanDuel.com/Kinner, Kinner. Finally, you can bet on all of your favorite sports with everything from the money line to point spreads to player props. In fact, what we saw from the Bengals last weekend, I'm confident in taking the Bengals in the money line this coming up weekend. So go ahead and win some bucks in the Buckeye State, all on an app that is safe, secure, and super easy to use. Don't miss your chance to get $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. Make every moment more with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Must be 21 and older and present in Ohio. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Science proves quality sleep is vital to your mental, emotional, and physical health. The Sleep Number 360 smart bed senses your movements and automatically adjusts to help keep you both effortlessly comfortable. And it's temperature balancing, so you stay cool. So you're at your best for yourself and those you care about most. Life-changing sleep, only from Sleep Number. The Queen Sleep Number 360 C2 smart bed is only $899. Save $200. Plus free home delivery when you add a base. Ends Monday. To learn more, go to sleepnumber.com.
Don't put it off any longer. You know it's time. Time for a bathroom upgrade by Bath Creations. Bath Creations is a leader in bathroom renovations, providing the very best value in bath and shower remodeling and proudly made in the USA. With Bath Creations, you get a beautiful modern bathroom that's safe, comfortable, and affordable. Attention first responders, veterans, and active military. Save $500 off your purchase right now. Visit Poe Avenue in Dayton or online at mybathcreations.com. And upgrade today.
Here at Roosters, we're not just a fun casual joint. We're a family. No matter who we are serving, our guests or our community, we strive to better the lives of those around us. Whether it's aiding in the battle against cancer, helping to educate the next generation, or simply putting a smile on someone's face, the Roosters Foundation has helped raise over $1 million annually for local charities. Our community has given us so much. This is the least we can do. Roosters, we're a fun casual joint, but so much more.
People here are raving about QC Kinetics and how regenerative medicine has changed their life. People like Helen, an avid mountain climber who got sidelined when an accident left her knees in constant pain.
I was not able to train or do really anything on my knee.
Helen was told surgery would be her only option. But then she found QC Kinetics and was treated with natural biologics designed to repair and restore tissue in her knees. 3 months later, she was climbing the highest mountain in North America.
I got a very quick resolution to my pain. I began treatment in March, and I summited Denali June the 7th. It was super successful, and I recommend everyone seek out QC Kinetics as an alternative to surgery.
Get your life back with lasting results. No surgery, no drugs, no downtime. Call QC Kinetics today.
Call QC Kinetics, 937-936-0325. That's 937-936-0325. 937-936-0325.
Your educational needs are unique. That's why Ohio Dominican University is proud to serve learners of all ages. At ODU, you'll find fully online master's programs like an MBA, flexible degree completion options, and a friendly community that supports you.
I definitely feel like I have been prepared through all of my courses here at Ohio Dominican University for the next step, for really launching myself into a career.
Explore Ohio Dominican's adult-friendly programs at ohiodominican.edu/online.
Make the big game sound even bigger with your new TV and sound system from Audio Etc. There is nothing better than a home theater or high-fidelity music system from Audio Etc. 4K is amazing, but just imagine the 8K experience. Come to Audio Etc's crazy cool showroom today and experience 8K TVs and projectors, short throw projectors from 100-inch to 130-inch, all the way to your high-end dream system. Audio Etc has tons of new inventory in stock, while everybody else is back-ordered or out of stock. Get special deals on a TV and your dream system today. Audio Etc can bring any big game home. It's better than being there. You have to see it to believe the incredible quality of the picture and sound. If you can't afford your dream system, check out our huge selection of vintage and pre-owned components. Audio Etc, powered by Klipsch, Bowers & Wilkins, SVS, Marantz, Denon, Sony, and a whole list of high-performance brands that you've probably never heard of. 551 Congress Park Drive in Centerville.
Audio Etc's crazy cool showroom.
At Fisher Investments, we do things differently, and other money managers don't understand why.
Because our way works great for us.
But it may not work for your clients. That's why Fisher Investments is a fiduciary, obligated to put clients first. It's the highest standard for a financial advisor.
So, what do you provide? Cookie cutter portfolios like the rest of us?
No cookie cutter portfolios here. Fisher Investments tailors portfolios to meet each client's goals and needs.
But you do sell investments that earn you high commissions, right? And make commissions when you make trades for your clients?
No, Fisher Investments doesn't sell any commission investment products, and we never earn commissions on trades.
So what's in it for you?
Fisher Investments fees are structured so we do better when our clients do better. When it comes to helping clients achieve a comfortable retirement, we're clearly different. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments, clearly different money management.
Investments in securities involve the risk of loss.
Families in poverty are facing a global food crisis. $50 provides a food kit to feed a family for a month. Just text the word radio to 97646.
First, we decide where we want to go. Then we need to know the best way to get there. Hi, my name's Adam Barata. I'm the owner of Advantage Gold. We're the highest rated precious metals firm in the country. We teach people how to own physical gold and silver. Now, we've won the Best of TrustLink Award 4 years in a row because we educate our clients on how to buy gold and silver the right way. We don't pay celebrity spokespeople millions of dollars. We'd rather pass that value on to you. Call 800-900-8000 and speak with one of our experts. We'll send you a free gold kit along with my latest #1 national best-selling book, The Great Devaluation. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000. Get the best information, the best process, the best service, the best value. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000. Call 800-900-8000.
Advantage Gold is not an investment advisor or a tax advisor. Consult with your financial advisor before investing.
On Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. Search 1410 Kinner for Justin Kinner on Twitter. That's 1410 KINNER. And ESPN Dayton for the station Twitter handle.
$35 teams, 19 games, all in 4 days. It's the 20th annual Flying to the Hoop Invitational at Trent Arena. Can you believe it? It tips off tomorrow. I just reached out to Eric Horseman with Flying to the Hoop earlier today. Our schedules really didn't align to have him on today, but nonetheless, pretty excited for this. Of course, the 20th season, the 20th year, I should say, for the Beacon Orthopedics Flying to the Hoop High School Basketball Invitational. 35 teams, 19 games, all in 4 days, which tips off tomorrow. You look at, again, some of the best national teams in the country, and then some of the top teams, not just here in the state of Ohio, but here in the Miami Valley. You'll see, of course, Kettering Fairmont will be in this as well as Oakwood. Out of Columbus, you'll get Pinkerton Central, Pinkerton North. Just Springboro. There'll be a girls game too that features the Springboro girls basketball team every year. I can't think of many years. I know there's been some without St. Vincent, St. Mary, LeBron's old team, but nonetheless, Wayne's going to be in action, Centerville, so pretty excited about that. Lots of great basketball teams coming in, and then a ton of 4- and 5-star kids. You're going to be watching them starting tomorrow, and then, of course, you'll be watching a lot of these kids play on Saturdays moving forward. Even how about the Arizona Compass Preps? Rayvon Griffith, who is committed to Cincinnati. He's a 5-star kid. That's pretty exciting right there. So just continue to go down the list. Dalen Swan, Afrocentric High School. He's a 4-star. He's committed to play at Xavier. So Gabe Cups, obviously, going to Indiana. I know a lot of you have been checking out Gabe Cups in Centerville a lot this season. Nonetheless, that's a hard ticket to get here in the Miami Valley. That's for sure. But yes, 35 games. 35 teams, 19 games, all in 4 days. Pretty excited for the 20th annual Flying to the Hoop Invitational, which tips off tomorrow. So there's that. All right, I'm Justin Kinner with you here on 1410 Wing AM. Kev Nash will be back with us tomorrow. I opened up the show, of course, talking about, with all the speculation about where Sean Payton could end up. It's funny. I'm seeing a lot of media out of Cleveland media, Cleveland Browns media, just blasting the Houston Texans, talking about how bad of a job that is. And I'm like, listen, if we could all try to convince people that the Cleveland Browns is a worthy job for anyone every time that job opens up, I'm pretty sure we shouldn't be, casting stones when it comes to the Houston Texans and others. Look, I don't think the Houston Texans are a great organization, but let's be clear. And again, put the gloves on, folks. I don't think the Bengals is a very great organization. I don't. I don't think. I mean, like when you think about the perception of the Bengals heading into that 2020 draft, it's not like I was the only one screaming these things. Everyone had the same perception of them. I mean, were they a good organization this whole time? And we just didn't know it? No, I don't think they're a great organization now, but they are making, they're making the right decisions. They're hitting on a lot of their draft picks. They obviously got their franchise quarterback, a top 3 quarterback in the NFL right now in Joe Burrow. I think that really at the end of the day, the Bengals would not have been considered a great job years ago. But why are they a great job now? Because they got a quarterback. And it's not because they have a coach. Zach Taylor was there, early on as well. It's, Zach Taylor, everyone was ready to get rid of Zach Taylor. They get Joe Burrow, they start winning, and now Zach Taylor is potentially going to take his team to possibly back-to-back AFC title games, maybe even back-to-back Super Bowls. Who knows? Back-to-back playoff appearances, back-to-back division titles. Like I said, with Zach Taylor, no one viewed him as a good coach. I know I didn't. Won the AFC North back-to-back seasons. All of a sudden, Zach Taylor's a great coach. Cincinnati Bengals. No one thought that was a great organization. You get your quarterback. You win back-to-back AFC North titles. You get to a Super Bowl last year. Might get back this year. Now, all of a sudden, they're a great organization. That's just how it works. I don't think the Texans, who have struck out on a lot of their decision-making, I think that right now the opportunity the Texans have is to strike here with this number 2 pick. They have to get their quarterback. The second you get your quarterback, the opportunities are endless. Let's be clear. The Texans, when Deshaun Watson was there, they won multiple division championships. They went to the playoffs regularly. It's not as if they were just, kind of just getting by, just sneaking in the wild card. And that was back when 2 less teams made it. Well, 1 less team on each conference. But you see what I'm saying? Like now it's 7 teams make the playoff. Back then it was 6. So all I'm saying is that it wasn't even 2 years ago that the Texans weren't considered a horrible organization. They had a lot of drama. But now because they're losing football games and they've moved on from their coach, yes, when you're not a good football team, coaches get fired, coordinators get fired, GMs get fired. That's just how it goes. But the second the Texans get their quarterback, if it's CJ Stroud, and CJ Stroud all of a sudden starts winning this team football games because let's say they get a Jackson Smith and Jigba as well. They have 2 first-rounders this year, 2 first-rounders next year. They have multiple second-round picks as well. The Texans are loaded with draft picks. The Bengals were loaded with draft picks. I'm not a fan when people say that, well, no, there's no good jobs in the NFL. Sometimes there's not good opportunities, but it's only, 32 of these things? I'd say it's a good job as far as that's concerned. Other NFL news today, the AFC, NFC, not the NFC, I'm sorry, but the AFC Championship game, if it is the Chiefs and the Bills. Keep in mind the path to the Super Bowl for the Bengals is the Ravens. If they beat the Ravens, which I believe that they will, they'll face the winner, the Bills and the Dolphins. That'll be the Bills. The winner of that Bills-Bengals game in the divisional round will go to the AFC Championship game. And if it is the Chiefs and the Bills in the AFC Championship game, that game will be played, the NFL announced today, in Atlanta. Okay. And, this is interesting to me because I think that the NFL, one reason, and look, I am exhausted with the Bengals fans getting over dramatic about, the stuff that has happened that has led to this and all that. I'm not interested in that side of the story anymore. I'm over it. Let's just move on from it. And even if you're not, I am, whatever. The one thing I find most interesting about this is I think that the NFL saw an opportunity, and I think that they put their interest first. All right. If this is going to lead back to it's not fair for the Bengals thing, then fine. But I think the NFL saw an opportunity here and took it. And one thing that Kevin and I will talk about tomorrow when he comes back on the show is an idea that I actually pitched last year, the year before, when we were talking about the college football playoffs and, we were talking about, March Madness and the Final Four and all this stuff is why is it every other sport, or at least some of the obviously college sports, and college is, all about money and the pros are all about money, right? When you think of the concept of the Final Four, cities bid on the Final Four, millions, billions of dollars bid on to get this Final Four in their city. When you think of the Super Bowl, the same thing happens. You think of WrestleMania, cities bid to get this to come to their city because it's such an economic boost. It's unbelievable, right? Like, I'm very surprised that the NFL has never once tried to do this in the first place. I know that there's a chance it may not happen. There's a good chance the Bengals beat the Bills coming up here a week from Sunday or this weekend. And we don't have to worry about it. But I am very intrigued by watching a neutral site AFC Championship game, in watching the buzz that it creates in Atlanta, and watching the travel that takes place of Bills fans and Chiefs fans. And again, I'm not rooting for this to happen deep down. As much as I despise some of the Bengals fans and the Bengals, it's good for the area for the Bengals to be, winning throughout the playoffs. But I am very intrigued by the possibility of a neutral site AFC Championship game, because I've always pitched that the NFL should do this. I've always pitched that the only 2 rounds of the playoffs it should host are the wild card round and the divisional round. And once you win the divisional round and you go to the conference championship, it has championship on there. We don't call it the wild card championship. We don't call it the divisional championship. It's the AFC championship game. It's the NFC championship game. I believe that those 2 games should be bid on like a Super Bowl, like a WrestleMania, all right, like a Final Four. I think that would just be a huge money-making opportunity for the NFL. And now fans, I know a lot of you are already booing that idea and saying, oh, that's stupid. I know it's coming from a place of you want a chance to watch your team host a conference championship game, and I completely get that. I completely understand that. But as Buckeye fans, did we feel robbed that we watched Ohio State against Georgia in the Peach Bowl as opposed to the Shoe? I don't think so. I think that watching the Buckeyes play in the Peach Bowl and just that sold out stadium, it was unbelievable. And it's going to be sold out no matter where. That was be sold out the Bengals. I get that, but it just has like a bigger game vibe. And I think that the NFL wants to do this, and I think that this could potentially lead to it. I'm not saying as early as next year, but let's be clear. The NFL is all about anything that can make them more money. And if anything can make them more money, it's imagine taking an AFC and an NFC championship game and making cities bid on it and letting that travel around. Because I'm on 2 different sides of the fence on this. For one, I think it should happen. I think it would just make those games feel even bigger. You celebrate winning the AFC. When the Bengals won the AFC last year, that was humongous, right? There, Ickey Woods was there. They're hoisting up the trophy. It was huge. But it would feel even bigger on a neutral site where it's just built around the AFC Championship, the home of the AFC Championship. I would love to see that. I think it would add a bigger game feel, travel packages, all that fun stuff, big game environment. I think that would be fantastic. However, this is one of the few times where I'm going to tell people that have a different opinion than me that you're also right. I think every one of you who are saying, no, we want to have our team host it, I understand where you're coming from. I actually believe you. I would love to be, even if I'm not a Bengals fan, to be at Paycor Stadium on a night or a day that the Bengals clinch the AFC Championship. I can't imagine what that atmosphere is going to be. The atmosphere, you got goosebumps watching the Chiefs and Bengals on national TV about a month ago. The atmosphere for that, a regular season matchup with the Chiefs. Imagine putting the AFC title on the line in Cincinnati. It would be unbelievable. Taking those moments away from you, I completely get it. So this is one of the few times Kinner's ever going to say, my opinion's different than yours, but I think you're right too. I don't think there's a wrong solution here, but I also, to me, if the AFC Championship game is a success, if it ends up being Chiefs-Bills as far as a neutral site's concerned, don't be shocked to see it come to stay. But let's be clear as well, for every one of you that make an argument about why no, the conference championships need to be played on the home field of the higher seed, why aren't we that passionate about the Super Bowl being the same thing? If anything, I feel like the ultimate, if you want to add to me, I don't really get into the seeding side of things. Maybe it's because I'm a fan of a Browns team that I'm just happy if they're in the playoffs. I don't even know what it's like to root for my team to have a chance to get that 1 seed. Maybe that's why I couldn't relate to Bengals fans who felt so slighted about the makeup of some of these games and the scenarios, right? Maybe that's what it is. Maybe I'm dialing it back to that. Who knows? But I do think at the end of the day that if you want to add more intrigue and more urgency to being the best team in each conference and expand it beyond just getting a first round bye, imagine having the chance to host the Super Bowl. Imagine the Cincinnati Bengals welcoming in the Philadelphia Eagles or the San Francisco 49ers to Paycor Stadium to host the Super Bowl, because then it would go beyond just being the 1 seed in your conference. It would go then to being the number 1 seed in the entire NFL to host the Super Bowl, if that's the case. All I'm saying is for every argument that you can make as to why you should not have host sites for the AFC and NFC championship game, those arguments are just as convincing as why we shouldn't have a Super Bowl on a host site. But we all love the Super Bowl. We all love the vibe and the feel, and the lights just look different. By the way, we watch a Super Bowl every year in an NFL stadium that more times than not, we watch our teams play in. But how is it that Jerry's World, I watch Cowboys games all the time in Jerry's World, and it's just Jerry's World. It's just the Cowboys. But then the Super Bowl in Jerry's world, all of a sudden just seems, feels, and looks better. You know what I mean? The Rose Bowl. How many times you watch UCLA and other teams play there, and it's just a regular season game. But all of a sudden, it's the bowl game, and now all of a sudden, oh my goodness, it's just beautiful. It's the game that makes it. It elevates it. All I'm saying is for me, and a lot of you may disagree, and that's totally fine, but I do think that when that news came out today, that they found the host site, of course, for the AFC Championship game, if the scenario of it being the Bills and the Chiefs comes to fruition, I think we could see that potentially come as a permanent stay in the playoffs moving forward. Home and away games for the wild card in the divisional rounds, but I think that's fine. Those are wild card games, divisional games. But I think you should earn a chance to go play in the championship at a host site, at a host location. I just think there's something special about that. Probably not a popular take. I'm not known for having many popular takes, that's for sure. But what say you? I know a lot of you are flooding the comment section. I want to get your takes on that coming up here around the corner. If you want to call into the show, you could do so. 518-1410, 518-1410. The AFC Championship game, if it's Bills-Chiefs, will be at a neutral site over in Atlanta. I think that scenario, not that scenario, but I think that scenario of having a host site for a conference championship game, I think we're going to see a rehearsal of it this year, possibly, if that's the scenario that comes to fruition. And then I think we see that come to stay. I think the NFL is going to want that. They're going to want cities to bid on it. It's going to, now all of a sudden, like Tennessee's getting this new stadium. It's going to be an indoor stadium. Tennessee will bid on it. The Colts and, over in Indianapolis will bid on it. Jerry's World, Los Angeles, SoFi, all that. All I'm saying is I think that's coming. I think we're heading in that direction. Final Four doesn't. College football playoff semifinals doesn't. I don't think Buckeye fans felt slighted because that game against Georgia wasn't at the shoe. I don't know. We'll be right back.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
First, we decide where we want to go. Then we need to know the best way to get there. Hi, my name's Adam Barada. I'm the owner of Advantage Gold. We're the highest rated precious metals firm in the country. We teach people how to own physical gold and silver. Now, we've won the Best of TrustLink Award 4 years in a row because we educate our clients on how to buy gold and silver the right way. We don't pay celebrity spokespeople millions of dollars. We'd rather pass that value on to you. Call 800-900-8000 and speak with one of our experts. We'll send you a free gold kit along with my latest #1 national best-selling book, The Great Devaluation. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000. Get the best information, the best process, the best service, the best value. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000. Call 800-900-8000.
Advantage Gold is not an investment advisor or a tax advisor. Consult with your financial advisor before investing.
Science proves quality sleep is vital to your mental, emotional, and physical health. The Sleep Number 360 smart bed senses your movements and automatically adjusts to help keep you both effortlessly comfortable. And it's temperature balancing, so you stay cool. So you're at your best for yourself and those you care about most. Life-changing sleep, only from Sleep Number. The Queen Sleep Number 360 C2 smart bed is only $899. Save $200. Plus free home delivery when you add a base. Ends Monday. To learn more, go to sleepnumber.com.
Want to know how you can satisfy every comfort food craving? Stop by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken and try a home-style bowl for only $4.59. You'll get a bowl of our mashed potatoes with breast strip bites, corn, and gravy, all topped off with shredded cheddar cheese to create a truly unbeatable bowl. Get your every wish in one hearty, craveable dish when you try a home-style bowl from Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken for only $4.59. Only at Lee's. Famous for chicken.
At the UPS Store, we know this upcoming holiday is when things can get busy for small business owners.
Exactly. My to-do list and I don't take days off.
That's why you can count on us to be open and ready to help with every small business need, whether it's packing and shipping or if it's just to check your mailbox.
That's almost everything on my to-do list. My list and I can take the day off.
Your local, the everything to help you be unstoppable store. The UPS Store. Be unstoppable. The UPS Store locations are independently owned. Product services, pricing, and hours may vary. See Center for details.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack.
But not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
A new year and a new career. KTH Parts Industries has immediate openings, second shift production associates, and equipment technicians. Material handling experience is a plus. This is an excellent new opportunity that offers an attractive benefit package, medical, dental, 401k, attendance bonus, and a competitive wage, starting at $19.75 per hour with annual increases. KTH is hosting open interviews Monday through Friday from 7:30 a.m. through 3 p.m. Visit kth.net. KTH is an equal opportunity employer.
The all-new Chevrolet of Troy is now open. What makes us different? We have a state-of-the-art dealership offering experienced service, parts, and body shop. In fact, we are the only dealership in Miami County with an on-site body shop. That makes it easy for you. With experienced, tenured professionals ready to answer your questions and diagnose your vehicle quickly and efficiently. Our priority is customer service. Make Chevrolet of Troy your first stop for service, parts, and body shop. 1375 South Market Street and online at ChevroletofTroy.com.
If you like burritos, which you do because everyone does, you should try Taco Bell's Chipotle Ranch and Salsa Verde grilled chicken burritos. These masterpieces start with a warm flour tortilla that we stuff with grilled chicken. But the real stars here are the bold sauces, Chipotle Ranch or Salsa Verde. In fact, the chicken is the stage upon which these sauces shine. Like this mic is a stage for me to spotlight my theatrical range. 2 chicken burritos, 2 bold flavors, $2 each. Order on the Taco Bell app. At participating U.S. Taco Bell locations for a limited time only. Contact local store for prices, hours, and participation, which vary. Tax extra while supplies last.
Bonus days are back for pros at Lowe's. You earn points and save when you buy the top pro brands you trust, like DeWalt. Right now, you can save $100 on the powerful DeWalt 8¼ carbide tipped portable table saw. Was $399, now just $299. Join today and shop bonus days, only at Lowe's. Bonus points calculated before taxes and fees after applicable discounts, if any. Valid through 1/20. Subject to change while supplies last. Visit Lowes.com/MVPs bonus points for details.
The Dominique Foxworth Show.
I believe that most quarterbacks and probably more players are failed than the players themselves not being good. It's the coaches in the situation failing them. I was just thinking that we should start the Shanahan test or the Andy Reid test. When we start talking about players stink or players are bust, especially offensive players, just ask yourself, what would he look like in San Francisco or in Kansas City?
Check out the Dominique Foxworth Show anywhere you get your podcast.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Thinking about gas mileage. You know, changing your oil with a full synthetic oil like Valvoline Advanced can help your engine get more miles. Right now, you can get 5 quarts with an STP extended life oil filter for only $38.99. Go farther with better fuel efficiency. Get the parts you need when you need them at AutoZone or AutoZone.com.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
A girl in Kenya dreams of becoming a doctor. An elder in Guatemala dreams of being part of a community. Reach out and change their world, and it will change your own. Unbound.org.
Whether you're at home, at work, or in your car, tune in to ESPN 1410 Wing AM or stream us live at wingam.com.
Justin Kinner with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio, the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Kev Nash off today. He returns tomorrow. We're live on Facebook. Make sure you follow the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page. Everyone has Facebook. Get there now. You can jump in on the conversation. So a little bit ago, and I appreciate all the feedback on the social media side of things too. Again, the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page, that's where you could watch the show live. And then if you can't call into the show at 518-1410, you could message into the show on Facebook. Of course, in the comment section, I take your comments, I pull them into the show, and we interact with you that way. So talking about, again, if the Chiefs and the Bills win their playoff matchups, of course, coming up here in the divisional round, and assuming that they win their wildcard round, where the Chiefs have the first round bye, of course, but Bills have the Dolphins. I think we've all kind of chalked the Bills over into the divisional round, right? And that's all mainly just because the Dolphins without Tua, the Dolphins actually played Buffalo pretty tight in Buffalo not too long ago. When they had Tua, not having Tua now, I think is a problem. Obviously for Buffalo, a lot of people counted them out, talking about the the Dolphins, of course. Sorry, fumbling over my words there. But the AFC Championship game, if it is the Chiefs and the Bills, I know it's going to be in Atlanta if that is the AFC Championship game matchup. The thing I find interesting about it, and Nick, I see, is calling in. Nick, I'm putting you on hold. I'll get to you in a second. The AFC Championship at a neutral location in Atlanta. I actually love that idea. I think that should be an idea that sticks to the NFL moving forward. And I know that may not be popular with a lot of you because a lot of you love the idea of, man, if the Bengals are the higher, like the imagining the Bengals hosting the AFC Championship game. That's what you keep wrapping your head around. And I completely agree with that. Because if, as a Browns fan, and again, it sounds funny talking about the Browns and AFC Championship game, but we'll get there one day. But I can relate to that because no matter who your team is, you would love to have the idea of, man, you hoisting up that AFC Championship or the NFC Championship, witnessing your team live and in person at your home field to punch their ticket to the Super Bowl. I get why you would want that. But you know what also I would love to is if I could watch Ohio State play Georgia at the Shoe with the chance to get to the national championship on the line. I would love that. But that doesn't happen, and we still tune in, and it's still like the biggest thing ever to us, right? And that's a semifinal matchup. When Dayton was in the Elite Eight years and years and years ago, had they beat Florida and got to the Final Four, would we have complained that, oh man, Dayton doesn't get to play this at UD Arena? We have to go to, I don't even remember what the Final Four was that year, maybe Indy. I don't remember. But the point is no, we're like, all right, let's get our tickets, giddy up, boom, let's go, right? Like I think that's really what this comes down to is. I think it's all how we're conditioned to think. Like we're conditioned to accept that we're not going to watch Dayton at UD Arena unless they're in the first four, which there's, that rarely is going to happen again. You know what I mean? Like, so we're conditioned to just accept that once the postseason gets here, we're done watching Dayton play at UD Arena. We're conditioned to college football that once Ohio State, plays Michigan in that final game of the regular season, if it's at the Shoe, that's the final game at the Shoe, no matter what happens. We've been conditioned to accept that. We don't complain about it. So why would we complain about the opportunity for our team to get to a Final Four semifinal matchup and say, no, that stinks. That sucks. We can't watch our team on our home field. If anything, that almost gives your team an advantage because now you don't have to worry about the other team having home field advantage. Now it's a neutral site. Like I like this idea. And from an NFL standpoint, it's just a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. They're going to be able to, I mean, my gosh, people are so NFL thirsty that the damn combine is being bid upon, right? Or has that been approved or there's talk of that happening? But the point is that the combine has become so big that they're trying to turn that into a humongous offseason NFL event that cities will bid upon. The draft. I mean, we grew up, we just watched the draft on TV. We just all either went to a sports bar, we're just sitting down, we hear the chime from our living rooms. Now people are circling it on their calendars. So they can be like, all right, we got to book flights. We got to get off work. We got to go watch the draft, which is just a celebration of bad teams, right? Like the good teams, they're not getting any draft picks that are worth the damn. We're celebrating the horrible teams in football. It doesn't make any sense. People are so NFL thirsty that this is it's a no-brainer for the NFL to go this route. And at some point, I believe that they will. And I think that they saw this opportunity. Like, by the way, so here's where I'll at least take a few steps back and tell Bengals fans that there was a lot of different directions that the NFL could have gone as far as handling the scenarios that came about following the suspension of the Bills-Bengals game with the Hamlin situation. There was a lot of different angles that could have gone. I think they went this one in particular because I think they want, in their heads, I think they've basically penciled in Bills-Chiefs. All right? I think there's Bengals-Bills is a coin flip to me, by the way. I don't have a hot take as far as, the Bills are better. I don't know who's better. I think that's why that Monday Night Football game was going to be the best game of the season because nobody had any idea. There would have been a slight advantage to the Bengals because it's on their home field. But my point is that I think the NFL went with this direction because it's going to give them an opportunity to test it out. What's it going to look like? What's it going to feel like? What are the logistics of it? I love it. I think that's where this is going. I think it's going to be a success. If that ends up being the case, we're all going to hate it around here because the Bengals aren't in it, and I completely get that. But I just, like I said, I didn't feel slighted watching the Buckeyes in the Peach Bowl from my living room and didn't say, oh, man, we should have watched it at the Shoe. When Dayton, who was just kicking ass all of a sudden, when they get to the NCAA tournament this year, all right, and they win the A-10 tournament this year, okay, are any of us going to be like, oh, great, that sucks. Well, I guess they're not going to get any tournament games at UD Arena. No, we're going to wait to find out what region they're in. We're going to buy our tickets. Go Flyers. So we could do that with the Bengals. We could do that with the Browns. Ha ha, get your jokes in. Ha 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 ha. We could do that with our NFL teams. We could do it. We can. On Facebook, interesting stuff that came in. Scott Campbell said on YouTube, the regular season in sports are for the fans. The postseasons are for the television markets, advertisers, and corporations. Look, I disagree with that, Scott, because I think that there's not a dividing line. I think that the business side benefits more from the postseason, but it's all the same thing. It's all the same thing. I mean, Scott, for instance, the postseason, the conference tournaments on host site locations. Whether you're going to watch Wright State in Indianapolis, where is the A10 tournament this year, by the way? If any of you can chime in, I'd appreciate it. Sometimes in Brooklyn, is Washington, D.C. I don't know where it's at this year, but wherever the A10 tournament is, y'all don't, it feels bigger. For whatever reason, the A10 tournament feels bigger on a host site location. It feels bigger there. The NCAA tournament feels bigger at a host site location. It just feels special. The Final Four on those big propped up stage courts with the NFL stadiums, and just, there's not a good seat in the house, by the way. If even the front row for March Madness or for the Final Four, those tickets most times suck because you're not front row. You have like a lifted staged court in front of you and just a lot of it's a mess. So I don't know, guys. Like, I think that everything is for the fans no matter what. It just feels bigger. So yes, the business side, they benefit from the postseason because that's where the money is really being flowed into. But I've never felt slighted come postseason. The Major League Baseball, the Reds, a playoff game at Great American Ballpark. I've gone to hundreds of games at Great American Ballpark. They don't come close to a playoff game at Great American Ballpark. It's the same park. It's the same team on the field. It's the same seats, higher ticket prices and all that stuff. But I mean, like, the experience, the vibe, the energy is just different. So we benefit from that. We benefit from watching the Reds from home when they make the playoffs, whatever decade that might be. But you see my point. So no, I know what you're saying, Scott, but at the same time, I don't think there's a dividing line. I don't think fans are slighted in regular season or postseason because of it. Ryan Holzapple says, as soon as that pops up, don't you play any regular season in pro sports to get home field advantage for the playoffs? You still would. You're still trying to get home field advantage to have home field advantage for that wild card game. You still want home field advantage for that divisional game. Wouldn't you want, with the chance to get to the Final Four, with the chance to get to the college football playoff, with the chance to get to the Final Four for basketball, with the chance to get to the AFC championship game, you would still be playing to have home field advantage for that divisional round. Your odds increase dramatically if you're the home team in the divisional round of the playoffs. And yeah, I mean, that's why Bengals fans lost their mind about a potential coin flip taking away their home field advantage for the wild card round. So, yes, you would still get home field advantage. It would just be slightly different as far as that's concerned. All right. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Appreciate everyone chiming in on that. Nick and a couple others, I know you're on hold. I promise you're going to kick us off at the top of the hour. But thoughts on that? I'll continue to read your comments and pull your interactions into the show. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Hour 1 in the books. Hour 2 coming up next.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Hello there. My name is Seychelle, and what makes the Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich original to me is the punch of flavors that's unlike any other. You get the crispy tenderness of the chicken and that hint of sourness from the pickles. Ta-da!
Hey, I'm Juan, and what makes the Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich original to me is you're going to get chicken that's crispy, golden, and juicy. This is the gold standard of chicken sandwiches.
Order the original Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich on the Chick-fil-A app today. Real customers paid for their testimonials.
The Hoop Collective Podcast.
I'm at our ESPN LA studios. You may remember that Bev did a couple of days of work for ESPN last year.
No, I remember. I was on with him.
He left a gorgeous Dolce & Gabbana suit here that is just spectacular.
You should wear it on TV today, Brian.
I do not believe it will fit me, only because the arms are too long. You're across the street. Come over and get it. It's got to be at least a $7,000 suit.
The Hoop Collective Podcast. Listen on the ESPN app or wherever you listen to podcasts.
For adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy, now there's Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months, and Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Nothing and me go hand in hand. Nothing on my skin, that's my new place. Nothing is every day.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, you could achieve 90% clearer skin. Ask your doctor about the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Houday Nation, Betfred has come all the way from England to the great state of Ohio with over 50 years of sports betting experience. No emperors, no movie stars, just a sportsbook you can trust. The Betfred Sportsbook app will be available on January 1st, 2023. Until then, download the Bengals app or go to betfredsports.com and have a chance to win Bengals tickets and exclusive merchandise. Official sports betting partner of the Cincinnati Bengals. Must be 21 plus. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-589-9966.
Need an online notary? We can help. Hi, this is Mike Foley, your Montgomery County Clerk of Courts. We can notarize your documents remotely at no charge to you. All you need is a smartphone or laptop. Visit courthouse2u.com for more info.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers. Excellent pay, benefits, and a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Apply today. Online at CordellTransportation.com. Driven to succeed.
With Discover, you can redeem your rewards for cash in any amount at any time. Learn more at discover.com/redeem rewards. Terms apply.
There are many ways to catch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. You can catch it live right here on 1410 Wing AM, or you can stream the show at wingam.com. But now we have another way that you can take in the show. You can now watch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash live on ESPN Dayton's Facebook page. Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. We are Dayton's home of the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Into the end zone goes Chris Olave. KJ Hill, 6-yard touchdown catch. Right sideline and down he goes to the end zone.
WING 1410 Dayton's ESPN Radio.
Hour 2 here in the Miami Valley. I'm Justin Kinner with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. We have Ohio State basketball coming up here later on tonight on Dayton's radio, home of the Buckeyes. Not just football, basketball as well. Tip-off, 6:30. I'll highlight that and preview that matchup for the Buckeyes coming up here around the corner. Also, hour 3 of the show will be dedicated towards Talking Out Loud with Sully. So he'll be taking over for me coming up at 5 o'clock. Talking Out Loud with Sully, hour of Dayton basketball talk, of course. And then starting next week, former Dayton Flyer Norm Greavy every Wednesday is going to be spending the 5 o'clock hour in studio live with us to talk about the surging Dayton Flyers, another dominating win for UD earlier in the week. So excited to talk some hoops with, of course, Norm Greavy starting next Wednesday, every Wednesday in studio from 5 to 6. So keep that in mind, Flyers fans. I'm pretty jacked about that. I've worked with Norm for years. Him and I in the offseason, we do the TBT. In fact, I haven't heard if the TBT is going to be back in the Ohio area. I'm really hoping Red Scare's still in this thing. Of course, that's been a blast having a chance to call some of those games, especially this past summer at the arena with Norm. Man, he enjoys it. I enjoy it. I know all our listeners do. So we're hoping that that's going to be the case again. But always love working with Norm every Wednesday from 5 to 6 right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Appreciate the comments coming in on the Facebook feed side of things. So Chad Kinser on Facebook says, just curious, do cities bid on hosting the Super Bowl, or are there just select cities that are picked to host? I think so. Like the two toughest events that as far as bidding is concerned for cities to get, or countries to get, even the Olympics is the ultimate. That's the most difficult. The Super Bowl is the second hardest, I guess. Like a lot of politics involved with how this works as well. But I guess each November, the NFL issues a 200 to 300 page bid book to cities looking to host the game. Draft bids are all due in April, and the NFL's 32 owners vote on the location at an owners meeting sometime thereafter. So this is an annual process. Now, I'm not sure. The only answer I don't have is as far as how far out they have these cities already voted upon and already finalized. That's why a lot of times, when you talk about some of these teams who are building new stadiums, yes, it's because their team would love a new stadium, but a lot of times the business side of it is because it's going to be able to attract more bigger and better events coming to their city. Nashville's a prime example. The Tennessee Titans, they have one of the worst NFL stadiums in football, and they are doing like a major. Is it now? Let me find. It's not a renovation, right? They're getting a whole new stadium, I believe. But either way, they're doing that because yes, for the Titans, but also they are trying to bid to get some major events to come to Nashville, whether it be the Super Bowl. Okay, they had. The draft isn't a major event, but the draft, that was a huge event for them years ago when they hosted that. That was a huge economic booster for them. SummerSlam, WWE for you wrestling fans out there, which by the way, I got quite a few stacks of WWE Raw tickets, which will be live in Cincinnati on Monday. I'll be giving those away. I'll tell you how you can win those in a moment. But SummerSlam was in Nashville, I believe, this past year. That was a huge economic boost. Actually, one of the biggest reasons that Tennessee finally decided to move forward with. They saw the impact that these events could have on their city, WrestleManias, Super Bowls, and then, yes, of course, the Titans, how impactful that could be. So that I think it's very interesting to just see the business side of how that goes to bid for events like this with the Super Bowl. If you're just joining us, this all stemmed from a conversation about the AFC Championship game going to be held in Atlanta if the Bills and the Chiefs make it there. And I said, I see this happening very soon. I think the NFL, this is just a testing ground for this because I think that the NFL wants to do this. Every other sport, at least from a college perspective, I know this is pros, but college loves to make money. The college football playoffs, they could easily say, hey, Ohio State, Georgia's the 1 seed. You go play at Georgia, which technically they did, but this was the Peach Bowl, so it kind of worked out that way. Hell, even TCU almost had a home game, basically, with where they were at. But if Ohio State was the 1 seed, that was still going to be in Atlanta, one way or another, or at least maybe switch it to benefit the 1 seed. But imagine Ohio State hosting Georgia in the college football playoff semifinals. That would be huge. It would be fantastic. But I haven't heard one Buckeye fan complain that that's not the case because it just feels bigger in these bowl games and these big NFL stadiums. And that's just kind of where I see it going. Ryan Holzapple said, this AFC Championship game, if it's played at a neutral site, is totally a one-off because the scenario of the Bills-Bengals being canceled. Well, Ryan, I know that. I know that that's why we're here. But he goes on to say that the NFL owners wouldn't sign off on it because they make too much money hosting these home playoff games. Folks, you're forgetting that there's still 2 other playoff rounds to be played before you get to the AFC Championship game and NFC Championship game. You're still going to make money off hosting those divisional and wild card rounds. And I'm pretty sure with the way this is all working, the teams that get to Super Bowl, I'm pretty sure get money for going to the Super Bowl. And I'm pretty sure just like going to the Super Bowl, they would, by giving up a home game or giving up a game on their home field, they're benefiting from it somehow. And I think that would be the case for the AFC and NFC Championship. But Ryan, no, you're not wrong. The reason this is happening is a one-off. But I've been saying for years, I remember Kevin and I having this discussion a year ago around Final Four time. Like, hey, it's only a matter of time before we see this in the NFL. Granted, an unfortunate circumstance had to lead to this, but nonetheless. Gary says, FYI, the iHeart stream is playing national ESPN, not your show. Well, that's why we don't like iHeart. And there you go. Gary, thank you. I'll let our engineer know and get that fixed up. Alpha Media, by the way, shout out to Alpha Media. Alpha Media is our parent company. Just a little shout out to the old alphas out there. So there's that nonetheless. All right. 518-1410, 518-1410. This is the old school way of not having a producer in the studio with this caller. Who is this?
Hey, Justin, this is Matt.
Matt, you're on live, man. What's up? What you got for us?
Hey, buddy. Listen, this is going to the NFL. Talking about the NFL here. I'm going to preface this by saying, huge Bengal fan.
Yep.
The circumstances that brought all this on were terrible. And then they had to go through the whole coin flip situation with Baltimore. As it turned out, they beat Baltimore, so that didn't matter. My question is this. Is it's looking right now if Cincinnati beats Baltimore, and I'm going to go ahead and give Buffalo the win over Miami, why wouldn't there be a coin flip situation for that game? Because had the Bengals won that game, they would be hosting Buffalo. It was no fault of Cincinnati's or Buffalo's, but they put the coin flip out there for Cincinnati-Baltimore. Why don't they put the coin flip out for the Cincinnati-Buffalo game?
Matt, your name's Matt, right? You said Matt?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm sorry, just writing it down real quick. So, Matt, let me ask you this. If the Ravens had only won like 8 games this season and they weren't even close to winning an AFC North championship, do you believe the coin flip would have been implemented?
No, and I tell you why I think the coin flip was implemented.
Okay.
Is because Baltimore beat Cincinnati in week 5.
Yep.
So then, and the NFL had to look at it both ways. Had Buffalo had beaten Cincinnati and then Baltimore come in week 18 and beaten the Bengals there, they would have been division champions. Cincinnati would have been there at Baltimore. I understood. I had no problem with that coin flip situation had Baltimore won. As a Bengal fan, I had no issue with that whatsoever. My only issue is this: why aren't they doing the same thing for Cincinnati and Buffalo? Because it's the same situation no matter how you slice it. They're just looking at it as, oh well, Cincinnati, has one more loss than Buffalo, so the divisional round, the 2 and 3, Cincinnati would have been the 2 seed had they played that game out and beat Buffalo. I realize that Buffalo had won. It could go either way, but the same logic that the NFL was using for the coin flip with Baltimore and Cincinnati, they should use the same thing with Buffalo and Cincinnati. There's no other way to look at it.
I'm laughing because Jody Van Winkle on Facebook says, F a coin flip for anything. He says coins are for vending machines. All right.
Agree.
Let me be clear.
So I agree, man. I wanted to, put out there that was heartbreaking, man. That was a rough thing for the whole NFL, but especially for Buffalo and Cincinnati. And I had no problem with the coin flip with Baltimore had Baltimore won. They would have earned that shot, However, I just think the same thing should be put in for the divisional round, because had that game played out, had Cincinnati have won, they would have been the 2 seed and had Buffalo come into their house.
Now that's valid. First of all, that's valid. I think that you're talking about for the divisional round, like the Bills are beating the Dolphins. We're pretty sure, and we're pretty sure of that, and we're pretty sure the Bengals are beating the Ravens. So you're saying coin flip should have been initiated for the divisional matchup. Now Cincinnati has to go play at Buffalo. It should have been a coin flip situation for that. And a lot of Bengals fans were saying that last week. I think I lost my temper patience with Bengals fans last week because I felt it was just so close to the incident that I felt the fan base came across very just, I don't know, kind of, they need to read the room a little bit, if you will. You're at least very rational in this conversation, so I'm going to match yours. But what's that?
They came across very entitled.
Yes, very much so. But with this being a new week, and we now know that he's now home, which is awesome, and the playoff field is set, and the Bengals won the game, so it's not a big deal. So now having this conversation doesn't bother me. It doesn't feel as icky. I just thought it felt icky last week, getting angry about a coin flip when that situation still hadn't been resolved technically. But now having it is fair, and I never once said that I don't care that it wasn't fair for the Bengals. I was just saying I acknowledge that it wasn't fair, but I thought there were more important things to be using our energy towards. But now that we know that's been assessed, I agree with you wholeheartedly. If we're going to use a coin flip for that situation, I think the Bills and the Bengals had a very close situation that should have been monitored by that as well. Because you're right, had the Bengals won, they would be hosting the divisional round of that matchup, and I think that sways in Buffalo's favor big time when we get to that Buffalo Bills Cincinnati Bengals matchup.
Yeah, and they're just what they're doing. They're just looking at the Buffalo Kansas City situation. If both of them make it to the AFC Championship game, which I'm going to say right now, Buffalo's got no shot because my Bengals are going to smoke them no matter where they play. but and I understand that because they're looking at it. Well, had Buffalo had won, they would have had the same record as Kansas City. They would have owned the tiebreaker over Kansas City. So they're using that logic, within that situation, which was right. But they're not using it in the divisional round. And I don't understand it. And I think that's where a lot of Bengal fans and Bengal players are upset. And they have every right to be upset about that. Now that DeMar is healthy, or not healthy, but better. Now that DeMar is, that situation is looking a lot better than it was. Now that it's got time to settle and look at it from just a football perspective, they've got every right to be upset. I think I've got every right to be upset because Cincinnati's not being afforded the same opportunities that Baltimore was afforded and earned and deserved. And then Buffalo would be, afforded if they make it to the AFC Championship game and earned. Cincinnati has earned that benefit of the doubt as well. And they're not given that. And I just don't understand it.
Matt, I do agree with you. Matt, thank you so much for the call. I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. I'll talk to you later, buddy.
All right, good stuff. No, I agree. Look, last week, it came across as I was just labeling every Bengal a crybaby because they were upset about that. I just thought the timing of being that emotionally upset about that when you had just tried convincing all of us that that was bigger than football, I just thought they came across a little tone deaf a little bit, and I was just highlighting the hypocrisy of it. But I actually thought the coin flip for the Ravens situation was fair. Y'all may not agree with that. I believe that was fair because while something maybe was taken away from the Bengals, which was a guaranteed home wild card round, a chance to win the conference championship or the division championship was totally taken away from the Ravens. And had the Bengals lost to the Bills, they would have gone in a game ahead of Baltimore, but had Baltimore won that game, the tied, same record, but the tie would go to Baltimore. They would have hosted that. So I believe Baltimore was the one that ultimately got screwed at the beginning of that. And I thought that the team that should have been the loudest was Baltimore because of that situation. But Cincinnati won, like I and everyone else thought that they would. So I thought everyone was being a little over dramatic about that. But that last caller, Matt, a lot of great points. And I believe that assuming that, just basically placing the home game. I do see where Bengals fans are coming from with having the issue with playing at Buffalo, if that's the case. I do think, though, maybe we should slow down on talking about the AFC Championship game, right? Or the divisional round. Like, do we got to get through Baltimore? I know Bengals fans feeling very confident, but man, I know everyone's coming out saying the Bengals, they took a lot off. They took the foot off the gas against Baltimore last week. They didn't show everything. I don't think there's many surprises. Look, let's put it this way. There's no surprises with the Bengals. Okay. The Bengals are very, very good. They have Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon, and P. Ryan. Like, there's no surprises, right? Like, there's nothing they're going to do that they're not expecting. They just can't be stopped because they have too many weapons. You're going to beat Baltimore most likely not because you hid stuff from them this past week. It's just because you're better. And there's no Lamar Jackson. However, the Ravens came back and made that semi-interesting towards the end. They didn't have Huntley, who I don't think is great, but he's better than whatever that guy was that they had last week, that quadruple string quarterback. And, no Mark Andrews. Sounds like they came back to practice today. Huntley practiced today for the Ravens. No Lamar Jackson. Lamar's not playing Saturday. I mean, I don't. That whole situation has just been a mess. If he's hurt, obviously you hope he gets better, but I think it's a combination of a tweak injury and not wanting to further it without that guaranteed contract, which you got to understand that side of it too. But from a Bengals perspective, I know it's easy to be cocky and be confident right now, but man, if you talk about a trap game, callers calling in talking about Buffalo, when you got Baltimore, this is a trap game. This is a trap game, and I think that the Bills have a trap game as well with Buffalo or with Miami. I mean, both Miami and Baltimore, without their starting quarterbacks, have almost made the Bills and the Bengals fans feel like they're untouchable. And although I would agree that I'm a betting guy. I love betting. FanDuel. I'll highlight FanDuel coming up here in a moment. I'm not putting 1 cent on Baltimore to beat the Bengals. I'm not putting 1 cent on the Dolphins to beat the Bills. However, I think it would be really dumb to overlook either of those teams. I think the Bengals would be dumber to overlook their opponent than the Dolphins, because I think that the Dolphins right now, they are more reliant on their offense than their defense. But even with Lamar, they're still way too reliant on that defense, and that defense is still intact. So be careful, Bengals fans. Like, I know everyone's been intrigued. I mean, the three-headed monster of the AFC is the Chiefs, the Bills, the Bengals. And right away in the divisional round, you're going to get Bills, you're going to get Chiefs with the chance to get to the AFC title game on the line. I completely get it. But I get callers and comments in the comment section talking about the Bills matchup, and you got the Ravens. That's not a pushover. I think that game's going to be, what is the line on that? Did that move to 8? I think when Lamar didn't practice yesterday, that moved. Man, that's going to be interesting to see if Baltimore covers. I don't think they're going to win. That's for sure. But good stuff. 518. I see Nick. You said I dropped your call. Nick, if you call back in, I'm a one-man show today. Kev will be back tomorrow, but I'll put you on hold and you'll just hear the station in the background. Real small market radio stuff for you right there, but that's what I'm dealing with today. So just bear with me. Love to take your calls, though. I keep seeing calls come in. I just can't get to them when we're live on the air. My apologies, but I promise you, when I see you bring it in, I put you on hold right away. So just be patient with me. We'll get to you guys as soon as we can. Appreciate the interaction, everything. Yeah, a lot more stuff coming on that AFC Championship game. A lot of you guys feel like if you went to a host site for the AFC and NFC Championship game, that the teams wouldn't have anything to play for during the season. I don't get that theory, mainly because, yes, you're playing for home field advantage, but honestly, you're also playing to play weaker opponents. You're playing for an easier path to the Super Bowl. Like, the Chiefs don't have to play the Bengals or the Bills until the AFC Championship game. You could say that they got rewarded as the 1 seed with home field advantage, but what they got rewarded with is the Jags or the Chargers. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's what you're playing for. You're playing to avoid the better teams as long as you can. Not saying that you're not capable of beating them, but why make your playoff path more difficult? The 1 seed is important for that reason. Yes, home field advantage, but it's also important, as is the 2 and the 3 seed. The higher your seed, the easier your path is to the championship game. So I see your point, Ryan. But let's not forget your home field advantage still exists in the wild card of the divisional round as well. 518-1410. We'll be right back.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
The mid-afternoon and early evening will be cloudy with rain, a high near 50. Tonight's going to be cloudy with rain and snow, a low near 34. And tomorrow's going to be cloudy with snow showers, a high near 34. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more about research, education, and support at Crohn'sColitisFoundation.org.
Hi, this is Joe Cordell with the law firm Cordell & Cordell. Divorce can be complicated, especially if children are involved. If you're a father and want to protect your role in your children's lives, remember Cordell & Cordell. We've helped men with matters like these for 30 years, and we'd love to help you.
Contact Cordell & Cordell to schedule an appointment with one of our firm's Dayton area attorneys, a partner men can count on. 2689 Commons Boulevard, Suite 100, Beaver Creek, Ohio, 45431. Online at CordellCordell.com.
Hi, Greg McAfee here from McAfee Heating and Air. Inflation is hurting families. Gas and food prices continue to soar, but skilled trade jobs are paying at an all-time high rate. Why keep working for less? If you are experienced in HVAC, have a great attitude, love serving people, and enjoy working hard, apply today at mcair.com. That's mcair.com.
The wait is over. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, is officially live in Ohio. You can now legally bet on all your favorite sports teams anytime, anywhere, right here in Ohio with DraftKings. For a limited time, new customers who sign up with code WING1410 will receive $200 in bonus bets instantly. I'm a huge NBA fan, so I can't wait to check out DraftKings' great features like the same game parlays, player props, and much more. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers can use promo code WING1410 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you place a $5 bet on anything. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code WING1410. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 and up. Physically present in Ohio. Valid one offer per first-time depositor who have not already redeemed $200 free bets via pre-launch offer. Minimum $5 deposit and wager. $200 issued as bonus bets. Eligibility restrictions apply. See dkng.co/OH for terms.
First, we decide where we want to go. Then we need to know the best way to get there. Hi, my name's Adam Barada. I'm the owner of Advantage Gold. We're the highest rated precious metals firm in the country. We teach people how to own physical gold and silver. Now, we've won the Best of TrustLink Award 4 years in a row because we educate our clients on how to buy gold and silver the right way. We don't pay celebrity spokespeople millions of dollars. We'd rather pass that value on to you. Call 800-900-8000 and speak with one of our experts. We'll send you a free gold kit along with my latest #1 national best-selling book, The Great Devaluation. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000. Get the best information, the best process, the best service, the best value. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000. Call 800-900-8000.
Advantage Gold is not an investment advisor or a tax advisor. Consult with your financial advisor before investing.
There's never any FOMO with the iHeartRadio app. You won't ever have to miss out on your favorite shows and contests with this radio station again. Radio 24/7, 365. We're here when you want us. Stay connected and listen anywhere when you download the free iHeartRadio app.
I always wanted to learn Spanish, but I never thought I'd have the time. Then I discovered Babbel.
Babbel's lessons are fun. They only take like 10 or 15 minutes, and in 3 weeks, presto, you're starting to speak another language, like magic.
I love that Babbel's lessons aren't just robots talking. They're voiced by native speakers, so you get the pronunciation just right.
If you want to learn a language, there's no faster, easier, better way than
Babbel.
Babbel.
Babbel. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com. Babbel.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
Have you ever thought about having a podiatric physician examine your feet? Doctors of Podiatric Medicine set broken bones, perform wound care, and remove bunions. Common health issues that they treat include ingrown or fungal nails, corns, warts, and skin problems like athlete's foot. Foot exams are easy and can prevent many foot problems. If you can't walk, work, or enjoy sports activities without pain, what are you waiting for? To find a podiatric physician who is a member of the Ohio Foot and Ankle Medical Association, visit associationsadvanceohio.com.
God, I'm so stressed. It's a brand new year and our business is busier than ever.
Ooma.
What is that? Meditation?
I'm recommending the Ooma cloud phone system with auto attendant and more than 35 features.
Ooma?
Yep. Switching to Ooma is a cinch. Starts at $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Now you're feeling it. Visit Ooma.com. That's OOMA.com to learn more. Ooma. Smart communications for the smarter business.
What's for dinner? Burgers?
After last week, no thanks.
Avoiding foods due to fear of diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools? It may not be just stomach issues. It could be EPI, or exocrine pancreatic insufficiency. EPI can cause uncomfortable symptoms because it's a condition where the pancreas doesn't release enough digestive enzymes to break down food. But EPI can be managed. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor about your symptoms. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, your grief is unique, but you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call the 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio.
Justin Kinner back with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's free, it's safe, secure, and super easy to use. If you have yet to create a FanDuel account, head to FanDuel.com/Kinner, KINNER. You can bet on all of your favorite sports and take advantage of all the really cool different betting types, such as, of course, in-game parlays. Obviously, you can bet against the spread, the money line, all that fun stuff. Plus, we'll be having, lots of different betting segments on the show weekdays from 3 to 6. So keep that in mind. All through FanDuel, of course. So head to FanDuel.com/Kinner, register for your new free account. And then, of course, when you wager your first $5, when you make your first $5 wager, you'll get $200 in bonus bets in return. And you'll have an opportunity to use that $200 in bonus bets to kind of, if you've never, been involved in sports betting, you could take advantage of those bonus bets to gamble, if you will, but to dabble in it, if you will. And that way you're not losing your own money early on. And hopefully, you kind of get the hang of it and you start winning with your own money. So nonetheless, FanDuel.com/Kinner. That is the link to go to and to create your account. So keep that in mind. Before we took a pause in the action, just the different social media responses. And the last caller, focusing on the Bills in the divisional round of the playoffs. And I got to ask, I know it's the Baltimore Ravens, and I'm doing it too. I'm not a Bengals fan. However, I understand where Bengals fans are coming from. You're overlooking the Ravens. You're thinking about the divisional matchup with the Bills and what that would mean to get to the AFC Championship game, where you'll most likely have a rematch with the Chiefs, who, of course, you've won the last how many matchups against them, including the most recent one coming at Paycor Stadium just about over a month and a half ago. So I get it. It's easy to overlook the Ravens, but keep in mind, remember how long it took to get to the playoffs, to get back to the playoffs for the Bengals after all those years away. Remember how long it took decades to get that first playoff win. Winning in the playoffs is not easy. The Bengals have had as good a team. Well, maybe not. I don't think that those Andy Dalton teams in the 2010s were as good. They had very good weapons, but Joe Burrow is what obviously separates it. But very good teams in the 2010s that the Bengals got to the playoffs with, division championship winning teams. They couldn't win in the playoffs. So I don't think it's safe to overlook the Ravens coming up. You fans know better than anybody how tough it is to make the playoffs. You fans better than anybody know how tough it is to get to the playoffs and get a win. Wins aren't guaranteed. So I find it interesting that the fan base is all of a sudden now, whoa, we're here, and we're going to overlook an opponent in the playoffs after it took 30 years to get a playoff win. That's not a shot. I'm not stirring the pot. I'm not taking shots. Just relax. But I think you agree with where I'm coming from. That would be like me as a Browns fan. If the Browns made the playoffs and we're in this situation, how the Browns years ago couldn't beat the Chiefs without Patrick Mahomes. The wins are not guaranteed. So I think it's wrong to overlook this Ravens team coming up, especially because for all of you out there who bash the Ravens, even when they have Lamar Jackson, how many of you say, well, Lamar Jackson's good, but they win because of that defense? Well, guess what? That defense is what's rearing up or ramping up, if you will, from this matchup coming up on Saturday. They know their backs are against the wall. They know all the chatter is about Lamar and not being there in the contract and his injury. The Bengals, Super Bowl favorites, all of these things. Like the Ravens know, like the Ravens are not going to lay down because they don't have it. Hell, they had a third-string quarterback that took it to the strength of the Bengals this past week, which was the defense. I'm not putting money on the Ravens winning. But if the Bengals are doing what a lot of the fans are doing, that's how upsets happen in the postseason. That's why these games are labeled, trap games. And this is an exact, this is 1,000,000% a trap game. And deservingly so. Look, the Ravens check off all the boxes of what makes a trap game. It's a weaker opponent that really, from a perception standpoint, does not have a shot of winning the matchup against you. And you have a million times better opponent, a bigger opponent, a huge matchup waiting for you on the other side with the Bills. I think that, a lot of times, I think you can gauge a team how the fan base is reacting. And here's why. No matter how we try to spin it, athletes are people. They're human beings. They have the same type of phones we do. They could just afford them more than we can. They have the same type of the phones we do. They have the same type of access to social media and media shows. I'm not saying they listen to me. I know they don't. You guys barely do. But the point is they hear it. They see it. They feel it. They know the game better than we do. And if we know that this game is almost a nothing game because they don't have Lamar Jackson, they know it too. And that's why it's very important that Zach Taylor proved to be that leader of men that you all believe that he is. And he's won me over. I was an anti-Zach Taylor guy for the longest time. I was defending Zach Taylor not even 2 months ago, saying, hey, you can't put all this on him. This is a guy that turned the team around and helped lead them to the Super Bowl last year. You can't just say because they're struggling, it's his fault. The players have to, they have to produce as well. He's a very good coach. And I think his responsibility this week is, yes, to prepare to go up against a very good Ravens defense, but also to mentally prepare them. You want to know what I found interesting the other night after the national championship game? And I wasn't awake when it ended, and I don't think anybody was. My goodness. I don't know who the player was that was being interviewed, but he had the nerve to, on ESPN, on SportsCenter, on the interview, say, you all thought we were going to go 6-6. You all thought we were going to go 5-7. I'm like, my goodness. I hadn't drank in a few days, but I was like, am I still drunk? Did I just hear this idiot actually say that? Did I just hear him actually say that people thought Georgia was going to go 5-7? No one thought Georgia was going to go 5-7. Nobody thought Georgia was going to go 6-6. But you want to know what makes Kirby Smart one of the best, if not the best head coach in college football right now? He got all them dudes to believe it. He got all them dudes to believe that everyone counted them out. And I noticed it the second that Ohio State lost to Georgia in the college football playoff semifinal. I remember the interview with Kirby Smart. I was expecting to see a coach that was thrilled with winning a thriller against Ohio State. And, I don't know if you remember, I wish I would have pulled the audio for this segment of the show because he ripped his team. He goes, man, I'm glad we came out on top, but that was unacceptable. We did not play well. We did not deserve to win that football game, and we will not beat TCU if we play that way. He was already coaching, even in the press conference. He was already reminding there was only one chance that TCU was going to beat Georgia. There was only one opportunity. There was only one way, and it wasn't through the air. It wasn't on the ground. It wasn't through physicality on defense. It wasn't on special teams. There was only one way TCU was going to beat Georgia, and that was up here. That was between the ears. And Kirby Smart knew it. He knew that his team was better. He knew that his team was going to just absolutely thump TCU. He knew it. But what he also knew is that he also has a lot of 18 and 19 and 20-year-olds, and then, of course, the 30-year-old Stetson Bennett. But, he knew he had a locker room full of boys, of young men who believe the hype, who believe the press clippings, who believe the tweets and the Facebook posts. So he had to convince them that they were trash, that they were garbage. He had to convince them that you didn't deserve to win that Ohio State game. He had to convince them of that. He had to convince them that they were not good enough, and he had to remind them that, hey, we're not good enough to beat TCU. He had to. It was an art watching the manipulation of Kirby Smart convincing his team that they were the underdogs, and they believed it. He gaslit them so bad that they believed him that they were the underdogs. Zach Taylor has to pull some Kirby Smart stuff right now. Look, the Bengals could win on accident possibly against a Lamarless Ravens team that's averaging 15 points per game. All right? An offense averaging 15 points per game going up against Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon, P. Ryan, and blah, 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 blah. Come on. But that's the point. We all know it. We all know that's the case. But if the Bengals know that going in, if they feel that going in, all right, they average 15 a game. I'll just throw it up a few times. We'll get a big lead, and then what? Almost let it slip away like what happened to the Patriots a few weeks ago. I'm not bashing the Bengals. This is just the reality of it. Like, by the way, I'm a football fan. I'm not a fan of your team. We all know this, but I'm a football fan. I don't want to watch Bills-Ravens in the divisional round. And by the way, everything I'm saying about the Bengals and mentally preparing for the Ravens, that's the same goes for Josh Allen and the Bills with the Tua-less Dolphins. The Bills and the Bengals are in the exact same spot. The Bills are overlooking the Dolphins. They're preparing for the Bengals. The Bengals are overlooking the Ravens. They're preparing for the Bills. It's going to be an interesting wild card weekend. And the only way it won't be interesting is if it's boring. And if it's boring, that's a good thing for Bills fans and a good thing for Bengals fans. That's for sure. All right. Brian Hetzel says, I'm not overlooking the Ravens at all. Jody Van Winkle says, I'm more worried about this game than last year's Raiders matchup. Jody, why is that? I'm just curious. Is it because of some of the things we just discussed now of just the overlooking the opponent? And by the way, I'm not saying that because of one phone call I got from Matt, and Matt's a great caller. I'm not saying he said anything wrong, but I was just amazed at how much of the call he took up talking about the Bills matchup. And I'm like, can we get past the Ravens first? The Ravens, they won double-digit games, and I don't know about you, but I keep looking back saying I don't know how this team won 10 games. I don't know how the Steelers won 9 games. They're just a well-coached team. And if a team that's not that talented but is well coached can win double-digit games, they could for sure beat a team in the Bengals that we think Zach Taylor's good. But if Zach Taylor's not on his A game and he doesn't have that locker room bought into the plan at hand, which is the Ravens, who knows? I believe in Zach Taylor. I think a lot of y'all are too hard on him. I think he's a very good coach. But we'll find out just how good of a coach he is, not by if he wins a Super Bowl, not by if he beats the Bills or the Chiefs. Can he beat the Ravens? Can he convince his team that's been buying all the hype that the Ravens aren't, that they're worthy of opponent? That's going to be the interesting thing. Matt, he doesn't say this often, but he goes, agree 100%. No gimmies in the playoffs. He says, my 2 cents, the Bengals will be ready. Like, I think they're going to be ready as well. Coaching or not, Zach Taylor or not, as much as Joe Burrow irritates me, it's maybe a jealousy thing. I don't know what it is, but maybe. But no, him, I think he's going to have him ready to go. Is there a game that you can recall that Joe Burrow just wasn't mentally into? I can't think of one. He may have games where it's not all coming easy to him, but Joe Burrow is one of the few quarterbacks that doesn't just look lost some weeks. There's just some weeks that the offense isn't, flowing, but we'll see. Justin Cox says, okay to speculate as a fan on a Bills matchup after it's okay to speculate as a fan on a Bills matchup after recent events. Okay. I didn't say it wasn't okay, but I'm just pointing out the flaws in that. Like, you know what I mean? Like this is a trap game. This maybe isn't the matchup to do that. I expect, because we're off Monday, I expect when we come in on Tuesday, we'll be talking about Bengals and Bills in the divisional round. I expect that. But if we're talking Ravens-Bills, or if we're talking Ravens and Dolphins, I won't be surprised by it. I expect to talk Bengals-Bills on Tuesday when we come back. We'll be on tomorrow too, but you see my point. I expect Bengals-Bills talk, but I won't be surprised to be doing Dolphins and Ravens talk because this is a trap game for both. We'll see what happens. Matt says, ready for some UD versus VCU tomorrow. Absolutely. We'll get into some UD talk coming up around the corner. In fact, talking out loud with Sole coming up. He'll take over for me at 5 o'clock. We have Ohio State basketball coming up later on tonight. Wright State in action tonight. In fact, Kinner's Daily Wagers coming up around the corner. It includes, all Ohio team parlays. I love the all Ohio parlays. Someone asked me about my Dayton bets the other night. I can't remember who it was, but yeah, well, was that the St. Joe's game, I believe, but they covered and then some. UD covered and then some. That was for sure. So they took care of me the other night. So there's that. All right, folks. How about this? I don't know about you, but I don't know if you all remember back when John Gruden came back, when he was pulled out of the broadcast booth and he was given all the power and all the money for the Raiders. I was like, man, if there's a coach to give that money to, I guess it's him. And that wasn't the case. Not because he got fired, not because of the emails. I mean, whatever, that's his fault. He got what he deserved. But we learned very quickly, Gruden, who was supposed to be this just genius head coach, he was very average when he came out of retirement or came from ESPN, of course. Well, how about Sean Payton? How about this? 15 to 20 million a year for Sean Payton is what is being rumored. This comes from The Score. They're talking 15 to 20 million a year for Sean Payton. This was Chuck Pagano on a potential Sean Payton contract. I'm sorry, but let's say, remember at the beginning of the year when the Bengals hit that Super Bowl hangover, if you will? I know it was only 2 weeks, but technically it was the first month because the Bengals started out 1-3. And I remember at that point, I started kind of putting some pieces out there. I'm like, hey, I think that when you think of the Cincinnati Bengals and you think about a situation for Sean Payton to come out of coaching to do, I think the Bengals would be a perfect situation. Imagine what Sean Payton did with Drew Brees and Michael Thomas and company. And, obviously Michael Thomas not a part of that initial run, but you know what he did with the Saints, with Drew Brees. Imagine what he could do with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, P. Ron, yada, yada, yada. That would be a perfect situation for Sean Payton. I am no longer advocating for that because Zach Taylor deserves the benefit of the doubt. They've killed it this year. And if they win one more game in that first month, they're the 2 seed or they're the 1 seed. Who knows how differently things go moving forward. But keep this in mind. Let's go back to that first month when the Bengals were 1-3. A lot of people agreed that Sean Payton would be a great candidate to go after if you're the Cincinnati Bengals. But let's go back to that. If you knew that Sean Payton was 15 to 20 mil, that right there would keep the Bengals out of it completely. Let's just be real. But is any coach worth 15 to 20 mil? Bengals fans, is there a coach out there? Let's say Zach Taylor wasn't working out. Let's say that the Bengals weren't the 3 seed. Let's say that the Bengals aren't as good as what they are right now. And you desperately needed a head coach. Is there a coach out there that you think is worth, as this post says, 15 to 20 mil a year? We lost our minds at a linebacker and Roquan Smith getting 20 mil a year for the Ravens. And I think you need a great linebacker in Roquan Smith. I don't think you need a head coach at 15 to 20 mil. My goodness. 518-1410. We'll discuss this next.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
You don't have to go through yet another year with that knee pain or back pain. People with chronic joint pain are getting real lasting relief from QC Kinetics. Hey, it's Keith Byers. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in advanced regenerative medicine. Their unique protocols use healing agents from your own body to target aching joints, repairing and restoring damaged tissue. Got shoulder pain, excruciating hip pain? If you have any arthritis pain or lingering pain from an injury, don't let them operate on you or give you more steroids, and say no to the pain pills. Call QC Kinetics and see if their life-changing, all-natural treatments can get you living your best life in the new year. I'm telling you, people are raving about these treatments. This is the future of joint pain management, and appointments are available as soon as the next week. Make 2023 the year you say goodbye to joint pain. Call QC Kinetics for a free consultation, 937-936-0325. That's 937-936-0325.
Betting happens as fast as sports. And now every play is faster than ever before. You're on the edge of your seat until the moment when it's all on the line, which is why it's important to pause before you play. Sports are fast. Betting shouldn't be. So remember to set limits, know the risks, and pause before you play. To learn more, visit pausebeforeyouplay.org.
Want to make tonight's dinner a perfect 10? Swing by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken and pick up a 10-piece strips meal for only $24.99. With 10 freshly marinated, honey-dipped premium tenderloins, 3 dipping sauces, 2 of our irresistible large sides, and 5 fluffy biscuits, it's family time made from scratch. Take home a top-notch dinner the whole family will love from Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken with our 10-piece strips meal for only $24.99. Only at Lee's. Famous for chicken.
Need an online notary? We can help. Hi, this is Mike Foley, your Montgomery County Clerk of Courts. We can notarize your documents remotely at no charge to you. All you need is a smartphone or laptop. Visit courthousetoyou.com for more info.
Oh, won't you stick with me, baby? I'm going to make a lot of bread. I mean both money and actual bread. But right now I need dough, cause my delivery truck's dead. And by dough, I mean money. Trucks don't run on bread.
Owning a small business isn't always as lovely as it sounds, but with personalized discounts that save you money, Progressive Commercial keeps you humming along. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com.
I need more dough. Need with an N. I need more dough. Need with a K.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Coverage and discounts not available for all vehicles or states. Policy terms and conditions apply.
What's for dinner? Burgers?
After last week, no thanks.
Avoiding foods due to fear of diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools? It may not be just stomach issues. It could be EPI, or exocrine pancreatic insufficiency. EPI can cause uncomfortable symptoms because it's a condition where the pancreas doesn't release enough digestive enzymes to break down food. But EPI can be managed. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor about your symptoms. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers. Excellent pay, benefits, and a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Apply today. Online at CordellTransportation.com. Driven to succeed.
You have empty office space to fill or home office to create. You know what you need. You know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places what you need and what you like might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week, there's something new. If you need office furniture, Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half the price and below manufacturer's selected prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection from budget to the best. Really, desks from $50 to $5,000. Filing cabinets from $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. With 25,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to go anywhere else. Larrick's Warehouse Outlet at 23 McOil Avenue, Dayton. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Larrick's, continuing the tradition.
I wanted to know why some people who get COVID-19 get it so bad. I found out it may be because they have a high risk factor, such as heart disease, diabetes, being overweight, smoking, and asthma. Even if symptoms feel mild, these factors can increase your risk of COVID-19 turning severe. So if you're at high risk and test positive, there are things you can do, like asking your healthcare provider if an authorized oral treatment is right for you. Learn about an option at treatcovid19.com. This message is sponsored by Pfizer.
My dad has a cold, but also has high blood pressure.
That's why I got him Vicks NyQuil High Blood Pressure for fast, powerful nighttime relief. Unlike some ordinary cold medicines, it's specially formulated for people like my dad. NyQuil High Blood Pressure is sugar-free, alcohol-free, and decongestant-free.
Vicks NyQuil High Blood Pressure. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, fever, sore throat, cold, and flu for people with high blood pressure.
Like my dad.
Medicine. Use as directed.
Do you have standing water, a wet basement, or water in your heat ducts? Hi, this is Jeff Heil from Buckeye Landscaping and Ohio Irrigation and Drainage. At Ohio Irrigation, we have a solution to end your drainage problems. We provide a free custom design and estimate to meet the needs of your home and keep you worry-free when it rains. Call Buckeye Landscaping, Ohio Irrigation, 432-9911, or visit our website, buckeyeindohio.com. That's 432-9911. Stop worrying. Call for a free estimate today.
With Discover, you can redeem your rewards for cash in any amount at any time. Learn more at discover.com/redeem rewards. Terms apply.
We are Dayton's home of the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Down the sideline to the 10 and drags a defender in the end zone for a touchdown. Jackson Smith and Jigba. A 50-yard scoring strike from C.J. Stroud. He'll hit the Purdue 40. Down the left side to the 30. Henderson to the 20 to the 10. And into the end zone goes Henderson.
Don't miss the Buckeyes all season long, right here on 1410 ESPN Radio and on 92.9 Jack FM. Go Bucks!
We are Dayton's radio home of the Ohio State Buckeyes. The Buckeyes will be at home tonight as they welcome in Minnesota. Ohio State a 15-point favorite. Minus 15, Ohio State, the Buckeyes at home. Ohio State, I tell you what, I mean, I know people don't really care about moral victories or anything like that, but we've seen them play some really tough opponents and lose some really tough games, really close. But again, that doesn't get you anything, and they're out of the top 25 now. But I think Chris Holtman's done a fantastic job with this group, considering, two freshman starters, 3 freshman starters, 4 freshmen in the regular rotation. I mean, Chris Holtman's done a fantastic job with the group that lost so much explosiveness from last season. Chris Holtman's done a fantastic job since taking over Ohio State. You know, it's interesting. I think that the standard's obviously pretty high for a program that I don't even know what the true expectations for Ohio State basketball is. Obviously, Ohio State athletics, the expectations is it's championships on everything, right? But it is interesting trying to navigate Buckeye basketball fans. That's tough to do in a city like this that obviously every fan that's a college basketball fan around here loves UD, and rightfully so. But when you hear so many Buckeye basketball fans say it's Chris Holtman, if he didn't get to the Elite 8 or Sweet 16, he's fired. Well, the whole reason it was finally time to cut ties with that motto is because they weren't getting to the NCAA tournament. And I'm getting this Cincinnati Reds vibe. You know what I mean? Dusty Baker. Arguably one of the best managers. I mean, he's in my top 3 best managers of all time. I mean, I love Dusty Baker. I was in the minority when it came to being a Dusty fan back in the day. Still a big Dusty fan. It was kind of cool watching him get his first World Series, obviously, but my goodness, I know he's taken quite a handful of teams to the World Series. He finally got that big W this year, but remember when the Reds were winning and getting to the playoffs after, a decade straight of not winning. And then they get there and it's like, well, if he doesn't start winning in the playoffs, we got to move on. Well, they moved on. And the Reds haven't been back to the playoffs since. Now, before y'all hammer the table, keep in mind they haven't been back to the real playoffs. I don't count that 2020 COVID season. 60 games, weird playoff format, which stinks because, honestly, the best roster that the Reds have had, you could argue that roster and that pitching staff better than the 2010s playoff run that they went on. But anyways, I'm not living in the past too much. I don't even know. Where the hell was I going with this? Oh, yeah. Ohio State, Minnesota tonight, 6:30, the tip-off right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Coverage for that does begin at 5:45. Immediately following the show today, Sully from Talking Out Loud will take over for me at 5 o'clock. So he'll take over Talking Out Loud every Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. They take the last hour of our show. And then starting next Wednesday, every Wednesday from 5 to 6, Norm Greavy and I will take over the final hour of the show as as well. Kev Nash does return tomorrow, by the way. I know there were some questions about how yesterday's show kind of opened up. I opened up the show today with an apology. I acknowledge that I messed up. I apologize to Kev. Him and I are on the same page now, but we'll be back at it and rocking tomorrow. But just giving everyone a heads up, I see some questions coming in about that. So there you go. All right, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. How about Sean Payton? The rumor is that the rumor is that Sean Payton's asking for anywhere between 15 to 20 mil a year as a head coach. And I'm sorry, I know the Browns are, and Kevin Stefanski, I'm so in the middle on. One day I'm anti-Kevin Stefanski, and the next day I like Kevin Stefanski. The Jets moved on from Matt LaFleur, and I'm like, man, I think the perfect Browns coaching lineup would be Kevin Stefanski, head coach, LaFleur as the offensive coordinator, and then, of course, Brian Flores being the defensive coordinator. I would love that lineup, but that's not what we're talking about here. Kevin Stefanski, I don't dislike him, but I don't like him either. Browns fans, we've been abused so much by this team that we're falling for he's 2 games above 500 in 3 years, and that's better than what the previous 10 head coaches were combined in Cleveland. And I'm like, yeah, well, we got to raise our standards, but that's a conversation for later. But even as desperate as I am for my Browns to be a winner, I think the last thing that the Browns should do is go get a coach like Sean Payton, who I believe Sean Payton would come to Cleveland and have success with Deshaun. He'd have success with this entire route. I do believe that. But I don't believe any coach is worth 15 to 20 mil a year. If you have teams that aren't willing to pay 15 to 20 mil a year to secure homegrown talent or to bring in legitimate talent to help you win, you don't do that with coaches. We're watching coaches come in that I'm not saying don't deserve to be head coaches, but how many coaches have been hired over the last 5 years that you're like, who the hell's that? And then they take their team to Super Bowls. And I'm talking to you, Cincinnati. Nobody. I mean, maybe Bearcat fans knew who he was because he was a coordinator there back in the day, but nobody was familiar with Zach Taylor. I didn't hear any person out there scream from the hilltops, we got to get Zach Taylor. In fact, the day he was hired, everyone was like, who the hell's Zach Taylor? Zach Taylor took the Bengals to a Super Bowl. All right. LaFleur is good enough in Green Bay to take them to a Super Bowl. I mean, Green Bay's went 13-3 the last 2 years, and they're not good this year. That coach is good enough to win games. It's honestly just about, you got to have the Jimmys and the Joes and all that type of stuff. It goes back to that. But I don't think that there's a coach out there that is deserving of 15 to 20 mil a year, period. 518-1410, thoughts, football fans in general. Is there any coach out there that you believe is worth 15 to 20 mil a year? Or if you want to jump on any of the conversations we've had today throughout the show, you're more than welcome. Let's go to Jody. Jody, thanks for holding. Welcome.
Hey, Justin, thanks for having me on your show.
Absolutely. What you got?
Hey, yeah, I just wanted to call and say it was weird because there's things that I agree with you with, being that you're a Browns fan and I'm a Bengals fan, especially with this AFC championship game at a neutral site.
Yep.
I was thinking that when it was up in the air who was going to go to Las Vegas, if it was going to be the Raiders or what, with all the California, Los Angeles teams and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it would be, the NFL would have like a same site every year for the Super Bowl, and then have your championship games like the Super Bowl does and rotates around to different things. That was my take on it. But
yeah, you would have too many Super Bowls. I mean, every year. I mean, the NFL playoffs, nothing is bigger than that. I mean, March Madness, obviously, but like even March Madness, I mean, you get to the Final Four. That's an event in itself. And then there's the national championship game. I mean, if you have the AFC, NFC championship game treated as too many Super Bowls and then take that week break like you normally do, and then, I don't know, the Super Bowl, I mean, that would be the biggest month in all of sports outside of March Madness. I mean, my goodness, I think that would be huge.
Yeah, it'd be huge. I totally agree there. And then I had one thing that I disagreed with you with the other day when you said you were going to wear a Lamar Jackson jersey. I was like, oh no, you can't.
Well, you see the way my bank account's set up.
You can't go. You can't go there. You can't go there at all. So
I was having a bad day. I was yelling at every Bengals fan in front of me. That's how desperate I was. I was going to wear a Lamar jersey on Friday to support the Ravens. Yeah. But you're right. I cannot do that, no matter how much y'all drive me crazy sometimes.
But yeah, that's good. And just another thing, just hey, that you're local, and I'm assuming that you grew up here in the Miami Valley. So I'm real proud of you for having a show. And
thank you. I appreciate that.
But yeah.
But all right, Jody, you the best. Appreciate you. Thanks, man.
All right. Thanks, Justin. Bye.
I didn't have the heart to tell him I didn't grow up here in the Miami Valley, but I love it here in the Miami Valley. So does that count for anything? But no, 518-1410. Let's go to Dustin. Dustin, what's up, sir? How are you?
How's it going?
Another day in paradise.
That's right. You were talking about the 15 to 20 million, like for a coach, and you were specifically talking about Cincinnati. I mean, I know your affinity for Joe Burrow, but I think that when you have a quality quarterback and a team of that nature, I don't think you actually need a 15 to 20 million dollar coach.
I used to feel that way. Like, I feel like, I don't know about you, but like even in the NBA, when I grew up, the coaches were as big of stars as the players, like the Pat Rileys and the Phil Jacksons. Like, I just felt, you know what I mean? Like, I always felt that they, like, you could buy a coach's trading card. That's how big the coaches were. Even Major League Baseball, Joe Torre, like they were. Now that doesn't exist in sports. Football has bigger stars in it than anybody, like, you know, with the Tomlins and the Harbaughs and the Andy Reids, like they're characters. But baseball, I mean, there's not one baseball manager that I care about anymore. There's not one NBA coach that I care about anymore. And the NFL's kind of slow. I think the next wave of NFL coaches, like Zach Taylor and them, isn't a shot at them. They're just kind of bland and boring. Stefanski's bland and boring. There's no personalities anymore. And I think that they've kind of proven you don't need that big personality to lead you, but it would be tempting. I get it. If the Bengals needed a head coach right now, it would be tempting to drop that 15, 20 mil a year to get Sean Payton with Joe Burrow.
Oh, and I don't disagree whatsoever. I actually, again, like I said, I'm one of those crybaby Bengals fans. So I don't typically.
Yeah, my
agree
bad
with
on that. I need
but
to cool it with that. My bad.
You're good. You're good. I get it. You're on your radio show. You're allowed to have your own opinion. So, but no, I honestly think, I mean, besides somebody like Sean Payton or like even like pulling somebody like Tony Dungy out of retirement, I mean, that would be, I mean, the top names that I could even think of right now. That
Gruden,
aren't coaching.
I learned that lesson with Gruden, though. Like, honestly, I thought Gruden was going to just come in and the Raiders just win a Super Bowl because it's Gruden. And that's how Sean Payton's kind of being framed to us. And that's how, you know, Dungy and others. But I think at the end of the day, I don't know there's not a gap between them and the current coaches to where they could just come in and do stuff that these other coaches can't. I think it just really comes down to who's your quarterback, and what kind of defense you have. And I'm not saying all the other stuff doesn't matter, but you're not going to take over a job that doesn't have an elite quarterback. Sean Payton will end up somewhere that has an elite quarterback. I still think it's going to be the Chargers. I still think the Chargers that end up losing to the Jags this coming up weekend. And I think you see him in Los Angeles with Justin Herbert, and the sky's the limit from there. But I think he ends up in LA. Right. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't disagree on the Jags take either. I think they're a hot team right now. I think they're going to actually probably pull that off and take down LA. So, but no, I actually agree with you on that one for sure. So I think the personalities in the locker room, as long as you have a good attitude, I think in the locker room, like you have players who are positive and keep the locker room tied together. I don't think you need a coach with that big attitude.
Yep. Good stuff. Hey, Dustin, appreciate you, man. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All right, guys, that wraps it up for me here today. Talking Out Loud with Sully. He's coming up next, and then he'll hand it off to Buckeye basketball. Of course, it's weird, a Dayton Flyers show handing it off to Buckeye basketball, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles today. But every Thursday from 5 to 6, Talking Out Loud with Sully. The best Dayton Flyers podcast out there, coming to radio form, of course. And then every Wednesday, starting next week, Norm Greavy will hang out with me in studio as well. The Flyers have VCU tomorrow, so we'll talk about that, of course. And, of course, this is from the instant reaction, of course, from the Flyers win the other night with Sully. Talking Out Loud with Sully coming up next. Buckeye basketball at 6:30 as Ohio State is then at home taking on Minnesota. Kev Nash comes back with us tomorrow. We'll be right back at it, and it'll be the final show before we head into the weekend, NFL Super Wild Card Weekend. It's going to be a fun one, that's for sure. Have a great night.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Hey, Ohio, the wait is finally over. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, is now live in Ohio just in time